Who's going to do the monologue?
Are you recording?
But I was going to cut this part out.
But you are recording?
Yes.
Welcome to episode 13 of the Wizards of Pod podcast, a podcast of professional librarians talking about podcasts. My name is Sarah, and with me is my co-host Dave. So join us as we discuss new and noteworthy podcasts, along with the information pertaining to librarians and libraries in general.
Yay!
Yeah.
How'd you like how I changed up the monologue? Did I catch you by surprise?
How did it change? You took out our last names.
Yeah.
What else?
I said, my name is, and with me is my co-host.
What did it say before?
Oh, I guess it's not important. It was like, hi, I'm Dave, and this is Sarah, and
I'm sorry, I forgot.
It's okay. No big deal.
Dave.
So, how have you been, Sarah?
I have been well. What have you been up to since our last podcast?
Oh, let's see. Living the dream. Living the
Me
dream
too.
of library land.
Yay.
But actually, it's starting to get busy here in the library. Summer's coming along. And
For sure.
unlike a lot of other places, we're a tourist town. So
Yeah.
it gets busy here during the summer.
Yeah, our population, what is it, like triple in
Triples.
the summertime? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we just had registration at the library for our July and August programs. So we'll bring up that again a little bit later. But yeah, it's been kind of crazy here.
It was crazy.
Lots of phone calls, lots of people waiting in line
Yeah, I was
to
going to
register.
say there was lines of people waiting to sign up for programs. And I was like, I'm going to hide.
Yeah, luckily I wasn't here on Monday,
Yeah.
except for like an hour at night. But so I didn't get too many on the first day of registration. But
it's always good when you can miss that because
yeah, exactly.
it could be frightening.
Yeah. So with the return of the library's annual Movies on the Great Lawn film series, we decided this month's theme should be Movie Madness. So we'll be talking about our favorite movie-themed podcasts.
Spend an evening with the big screen on our great lawn for a great movie at sunset.
So to give a little history about the event, our director Danielle worked with West Hampton Beach Village to come up with the idea to create the film series and tasked our assistant director Jay, who at the time was the head of adult services, and me.
Yeah, that's funny.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe you should
read that part. Yeah.
Should we read over?
To give a little history of the event, our director Danielle worked with the West Hampton Beach Village to come up with the idea to create a film series and tasked our assistant director Jay, who at the time was the head of adult services, and myself to set it up.
At the time, we did not know if it was going to be a one-off event or if it would be even possible to make it an annual event, so we had very modest plans. To get the program running, we purchased a portable movie projector, a portable sound system, and a portable screen. But even with these modest plans, the proposal to purchase the items was over $1,500. Luckily, since we were working with the village and local businesses, they were able to cover the cost. Before we knew it, expectations rose dramatically, especially once we began getting local businesses involved. So we ended up not using the equipment we purchased, but instead hired a vendor that specialized in outdoor movie events. Fortunately, we were able to use the equipment we purchased for other programs, so it was a good investment.
The film series typically begins on the first Monday of July and runs for 10 weeks, beginning at sunset.
Admission is free, and the only thing viewers need to worry about bringing is lawn chairs and blankets, as popcorn is provided.
Movies on the Great Lawn have occurred every year except for 2020 when everything was locked down due to the pandemic.
Did we do the drive-in movies that year, though? At Sushi
Yes,
Wine?
we did.
Yeah, that was a mess. It was cool, but it was a mess.
It was cool. It was popular, but the parking lot of the restaurant made it so navigating the cars was very difficult.
Luckily they hired, like the library hired a valet service that would take over parking or help park the cars. So it would work with like a stadium kind of setting with the cars. Yeah.
But even then you always had people driving the wrong way.
Yeah.
Causing a traffic jam.
It was crazy. Yeah. It was bad. But it was fun at the time.
Yeah, it was cool. But luckily for that, that was only a one-off thing.
And I heard it was very much more expensive than doing the movies on the Great Lawn.
Well, yeah, because just adding the valets.
Yeah,
I'm sure for 10 weeks. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 3-4 hours a night. Was costly.
But luckily, each year the film series grows more and more popular. So we've been able to kind of keep it going. And at the end of the episode, I'll actually give you guys a list of what movies we will be showing. So stay tuned for that.
Can't wait.
Yeah. But meanwhile, we'll get into the meat and potatoes of the episode. I want meat and potatoes.
I thought you were going to say like popcorn and soda or something.
Oh, that would have been so much better. But you know what? I love eating my dinner while I'm watching a movie. So it's yeah. So my first podcast pick for this month of Movie Madness is called How Did This Get Made? The podcast is hosted by actors June Diane Raphael, Paul Scheer, and Jason Mantzoukas. And each week, the trio gets together to talk about the terrible movie that they watched that week. Usually, they will do a full-length episode every other week, and on the off weeks, on Mondays, the show releases mini episodes called Matinee Monday, followed by the title of the movie in question. June, Paul, and Jason have been recording the show since late 2010, and started after June and Paul watched the movie Wall Street, Money Never Sleeps, then later discussed the idea of doing a podcast about bad movies with their friend Jason. Funnily enough, the trio have never actually discussed that movie on the show. And another fun fact is that June and Paul are married and have been since 2009. As of now, and according to Wikipedia, there are 289 regular episodes of the show, and counting, over 290 mini episodes, and more than 10 other extra episodes. Regular episodes tend to be 1 to 2 hours, and the bonus episodes are usually 30 minutes to 45 minutes long. Terrible movies such as Season of the Witch, Fast and Furious 6, The Quest, Simply Irresistible, Kate and Leopold, which I used to love growing up, but I do recognize the issues with the movie, the very glaring issues with the movie, and many more titles have been the topic of discussion in past episodes, and the hosts will often invite guests to join the discussion as well, including Anna Faris, John Mulaney, Cameron Esposito, and more. The latest episodes and a good portion of the older ones can be found on streaming services such as Apple. The latest episodes and a good portion of the older ones can be found on streaming services such as Apple Podcasts and Spotify, but for the full archive, there is a subscription that can be purchased for $5 on Stitcher Premium. The show has a 4.8 star rating on Apple Podcasts with over 19.9 thousand ratings, and the show is so popular that it won a Webby Award in 2019, an iHeartRadio Award in both 2020 and 2022, and an Ambit Award in 2022 as well. I personally love listening to June on this podcast because she's a hilarious comedian, and I loved watching her on Grace and Frankie and in New Girl. So I would recommend listening to her, her husband Paul, and their friend Jason talk crap about movies for fun.
I have thoughts on this podcast.
Tell me, what do you feel? Have you listened to them?
No, I haven't, so I got to check them out.
Okay.
But first of all, I'm not including myself with this because I haven't seen it, but I think many people may question the inclusion of Fast and Furious 6 as a bad movie.
So I'm going to be honest with you. There are so many Fast and Furious movies that I probably have seen the sixth one, but I could not place it.
I mean,
and I'm sure that there are reasons. Maybe like the writing.
I'm sure there is.
It's probably, honestly, because like action films like that, they can be really cool, but the writing could be terrible. And
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Especially with 6 out of
they're
how
doing
many?
10 now. Plus, they had the offshoots with
Oh.
I was going to say Calvin and Hobbes, but it's something else in Hobbes.
Oh, yeah. It
That's
sounds
the
like it could.
cartoon.
Oh, wow. It should be Calvin and Hobbes.
Yeah. But, and
Hobbes
my other
and something. Hobbes and something. Right?
Yeah, I would have to look it up.
Doesn't matter.
Too bad. I haven't seen that one either.
But yeah, I haven't personally listened to that episode, and I'm sure anybody could have a problem with one of those. But yeah,
that's why
I
you have
still
to
love
listen.
them. Exactly.
The other thing is, I noticed that they get some really good guests, which is, makes that worth looking at.
Well, they're all in the entertainment industry, so
Yeah.
they probably have connections. And I mean, like, I personally think that I've maybe seen Paul Scheer as like a guest on something, maybe, but he has a whole filmography on Wikipedia, like a very long filmography of TV shows and
trying to
I think
remember
movies
who
that
he
he's been
is.
in. I can show you a picture later. And June, she plays one of the daughters on Grace and Frankie. Jason, I don't know what he's been in, but June has also been in New Girl. She was on a few episodes of that earlier on in the show, and she was friends with Jess in the show, the main character, one of the main characters.
I know who he is. I just looked him up. And lastly, this is the second of the podcast, movie-based podcast, that I've seen while researching today's show.
Oh, yeah.
That the podcasts are requiring you to have to purchase a premium account on Stitcher for the archives.
Yeah.
So that sounds like that's becoming more and more popular now.
Yeah, I'd actually have to go back and look because I'm pretty sure it's just on Stitcher Premium.
Yeah, there was another podcast that I was looking at. And I was like going to include it, but partly because of that, and then there was some other reason. And also it ended. So it was one of those where I didn't really want to include it since
because it's not having any
new episodes. Yeah, but it was funny. It was like so they hadn't produced any new shows, so they only had 10 that were available to listen to, and all the rest you had to have a Stitcher Premium account to listen to.
Yeah, well, with these guys, at least I think they have like 80 or so episodes that are available to listen.
Right.
That might actually, I think I actually have more than one podcast that needs a full subscription for all episodes. Oh, you know what? No, I'm thinking of, it's a Spotify thing. We'll get to that one.
I can't remember which one it was, but it was funny because they must have just started doing that, and then all of a sudden the podcast stopped. They stopped publishing new episodes, but it was like they only had 10 that were available to listen to, and over 100 archive that you needed a Stitcher. You needed a premium Stitcher account to hear.
Only the best fans will have those copies.
I know.
The diehard fans.
So I'm going to cheat a little bit with my first podcast because it's one that I covered before in one of our earlier shows. But it was one of the first shows. Yeah. But it was one of the first shows we did. So it was a couple of years ago. And I really love the podcast. So I felt like I needed to mention it again. And it's Film Sack, which is a weekly podcast that focuses on movies available on various streaming networks, typically Netflix, but they also sometimes include movies that are on Amazon Prime. The hosts encourage their listeners to view the material before the episode, and then they also encourage feedback on previously reviewed movies. The podcast was created by Scott Johnson of the Frog Pants Studio Network.
Frog Pants, I love that.
I would love to find out where that name came from. The podcast is hosted by Scott, Brian Ibbett, Brian Dunaway, and Randy Jordan, and features a roundtable discussion by the hosts. Rated 4.6, stars on iTunes with over 1,000 ratings. The podcast generally targets films that fall into the cult B, status films or box office failures, with a tagline, "Mining the depths of film entertainment for all mankind." FilmSack won the People's Choice Podcast Awards in the film category in 2011 and 2013. So they've definitely been around a while. The hosts cover the content of the film, including its plot, major troops. The hosts cover the content of the film, including the plot, major tropes, and often discussing trivia regarding the film.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and they all do it on a very comedic angle, which makes it very funny and enjoyable to listen to. Mm-hmm. Episodes are usually about an hour long, starting with a soundbite from the movie being covered and a silly greeting by the hosts. One of the more funny things that they often do, or at least I find it funny, is that while they're discussing the movie, they'll look it up on IMDb and then laugh at many of the rumors that are listed on the page, including seems like Arnold Schwarzenegger or Sylvester Stallone was always rumored to be cast for the lead.
I love that.
And stuff. And even if it's
I always forget that they have that on the IMDb pages.
I know. It's one of those things that where I think anybody can just post whatever crazy ideas that they have. To conclude the podcast, the hosts will sum up their feelings about the film with a 280-character Twitter post, which is kind of funny, especially a couple of years ago when Twitter, when they changed from 140 to 280, they had this big thing going on. It was like, oh, it needs to be 140. And then, no, we could do 280 now. And they just had a very funny thing with that, which maybe I'm the only one that found it funny, but at least I was amused. And because of this, you can see I find the podcast to be very funny and unique in that they discuss films that are typically older, more readily available for listeners to find by only covering movies that are available via the popular streaming services. I also find that the hosts are enjoyable to listen to, and I really love the fact that even if you haven't seen the film before listening to the show, they still make it interesting, to the point where I actually find myself looking for the movie and watching it more after listening to the podcast than before, just so I can see what they were pointing out and, what funny things. So I really encourage everybody to check it out.
Yeah, I have a podcast that's like that as well. And it's actually coming up.
Ooh.
So that's really cool.
Yeah.
I like that. It's like that. It makes you want to watch the movie.
Yeah.
But it's really fun that they do the rumors and the trivia. I like that.
I know, and they're always making fun of it. So it's and they're like, "What?" They thought, "Who? Are they out of their mind?" So the second podcast that I'm going to talk about this month is called the Cine Files. At least I hope that's how you say it.
Cinephiles.
Why did I say Cine? Yeah, the Cinephiles.
Cine.
Because of the spelling. CIN hyphen FILES.
CINE.
CINE. I can't spell.
Same. I can read though. I'm kidding.
Well, you're one up than I am.
I'm sorry.
It's all right. I deserved it. Hosted by Steve Morris and what? Oh, there it is. I was like,
John Roca.
Because I put his.
I see it.
Yeah, but I put it down below. Because I knew I was going to mess it up, and oh man, why did I? Hosted by Steve Morris and John Roca, the Cinephiles, and I said it again, the Cinephiles. The Cinephiles is a long-running podcast featuring a new movie each week. Steve Morris is a filmmaker, director, and directing tutorial. I just have the sillies now. He's a filmmaker, director, and directing instructor based out of Los Angeles, California. See how I wrote Californian?
Oops.
John Roca is a writer, producer, host, and voiceover artist based out of San Diego, California. And just like another one of my favorite movie-themed podcasts, The Popcorn Diet, which I reviewed in a previous show, the same show that I did Film Sack originally, the Cinephiles is really just two guys talking about the movies they love, and you can truly see that they do love watching films. With almost 350 episodes, Morris and Roca have covered many of the top movies created, including such favorites as Raiders of the Lost Ark and Pulp Fiction. Each week, the hosts enter the world of great film and explore its themes, history, filmmakers, and the influences it has on movies today. What I really like about the podcast is that you can tell, like I said before, they are huge fans of movies, and they go in depth with their analysis. Episode lengths is typically between 1.5 and 2 hours, but they go so deep in their analysis that their discussions usually go for 2 episodes.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so that's like 3-4 hours, on one movie. It's like twice the length of the movie.
Like commentary, you could watch it twice.
Yeah. Rated 4.8 stars out of 5, the Cinephile... Why do I keep saying
Cinephiles.
The Cinephiles is a well-produced show with excellent sound, great chemistry, and amazing guests. Yeah, I guess I forgot to add that earlier, but not always, but a lot of times they will have guests that are really knowledgeable and you can tell are fans of movies also. The podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and most of your other favorite podcast providers, including Anchor FM, much like our very own podcast.
Boost.
Yeah, boost. And another interesting fact, or maybe it can be considered a feature, is that the show typically does not cover recently released films. It's generally older films. So either you, much like Film Sack, either you've already seen it or it's readily available, so you can see it without having to have to, take a trip to the theater. Along with movie reviews, the podcast will also produce shows based on tributes to specific actors. Like one example is between episodes 280 and 281, they released a show paying tribute to Ray Liotta in Goodfellas due to Ray's tragic passing. If you are a true movie fan, this is definitely one podcast that is a must listen.
It does sound cool. I like that they choose kind of like classic films to do instead of like the newer stuff.
The latest 2 episodes they did are on the original Beverly Hills Cop.
Oh, cool.
With Eddie Murphy, which was it was in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Yeah.
So
I need to check that out. Cool. So my next podcast pick for our Movie Madness month is The Rewatchables. The show is hosted by Bill Simmons, who is a sports writer and founder of The Ring, an entertainment/media website that focuses on sports, pop culture, and technology. Bill founded the website in 2016, but Spotify now owns The Ringer and all the podcasts that are produced by the website.
Must have did a Joe Rogan bought him out.
Oh, yeah, probably. Yeah. And they have a lot of, if you go on the Ringer website, you'll see under podcasts, they have a ton of ones that are produced by them.
It's a very well-known show.
Yeah. Bill also has a self-titled podcast that is available on Spotify, and he is also the creator of the 6-part documentary series Music Box on HBO.
Cool.
Yeah. The Rewatchables debuted back in 2016, early 2017, and in each episode, listeners hear Bill and a roundtable of people discuss a particular movie each week. The schedule for when episodes are released is not exact, but it looks like generally new episodes are out on Tuesdays or Thursdays, and the roundtable often includes Chris Ryan and Sean Fennessy, but these guests vary. Sometimes it's a completely different set of people. And unlike my last podcast picks focus on bad movies, this one focuses on the films that are most likely to be rewatched because they are that good. Bill and his roundtable will often break down the film in question, discussing the actors, director, and the plot of the movie. And movies such as E.T., The Dark Knight, The Princess Bride, Dazed and Confused, which I love that movie, and The Godfather are just a few of the ones that are covered.
All right.
Right? Matthew McConaughey, back in the day. In total, there are over 265 episodes of The Rewatchables, each running at about an hour and a half, and the show has 4.6 stars with 11.9 8.1 thousand ratings in total on Apple Podcasts. So it is definitely popular. Like, obviously, Bill Simmons has a large following, so I'm sure that that helps that too. But the content that they cover and just the content of the episodes is a lot of fun to listen to. But if you are not a fan of spoilers, just be careful of which episodes you do choose to listen to. And if you are interested, you can find all episodes of The Rewatchables on Spotify and theringer.com. And for just the most recent episodes, you can listen on Stitcher and Apple Podcasts as well. And my final podcast pick for our Movie Madness month is called Truth and Lies, a Little White Lies podcast, which is based out of London. The show is hosted by Layla Letif. I really should...
Where's that pronunciator?
I should do that pronunciator thing more. I literally just listened to it too, and she does her name in the introduction, so why don't I remember? The show is hosted by Layla Letif, a film critic, broadcaster, and contributing editor to Total Film, a British magazine. Layla took on the role as the show's host back in May, and previously the show was hosted by writer, broadcaster, and programmer Michael Leader, who was the host from 2018 until May 2022. Little White Lies is a film magazine that reviews films and has even created their own review rating system to capture the whole experience of going to the movies. So I thought that was kind of cool that they have like their very own rating system. Each week on the show, Layla and the people over at Little White Lies offer listeners reviews of the latest movies out now, whether they are well known or not. And Layla and past hosts talk about news in the film industry and even talk about films from the past as well. Each episode generally focuses on 3 films, with some titles including The Godfather, Dune, Out of the Blue, Candyman, Free Guy, and many more. Layla will also often have colleagues or friends on the show to help her discuss the films in question. The show started back in 2017, and there are over 245 episodes of the show to date. I don't remember exactly who the host was back in 2017 before Michael Leader took over, but that's, I guess, something I should have. But anyway, there are over 245 episodes of the show to date, each running at about 45 minutes to over an hour long. And Truth and Lies has 4.2 stars on Apple Podcasts with 60 ratings. And I recommend it not only because Layla has a beautiful accent, because, hello, she's British, or she is at least, she sounds like it. I'm not good with accents, usually.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah.
I love British accent podcasts.
And her guests often also have beautiful accents, but also because the show focuses on lesser known films in addition to really popular ones that are coming out. And I think that's useful for people to broaden their horizons, especially me, because I don't ever really know what new movies to watch. And if I know like lesser known films too, then I feel cool.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're looking for reviews on current releases or looking to find something new to watch, you can listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Acast.
I'm definitely going to check it out. Like I said. But, I do have to say one thing.
What's that?
This was the only one that of the 3 that you covered that I actually thought about covering and saw that you snagged first.
In your face, man. No, I'm kidding. That's why I always write down my titles first, so that I'm like, oh yes, I can get this one done. Yeah.
So for my last review, I will be discussing the School of Madness. School of Madness. For my last review, I will be discussing School of Movies. This show is hosted by veteran husband and wife podcasters Alex and Sharon Shaw. The Shaws provide in-depth analysis and sometimes even behind-the-scenes looks at movies. However, they don't just talk about movies, but also cater to a more geek-friendly audience by also talking about all things pop culture. So, along with discussing movies like Wonder Woman 1984 and Bill and Ted's Face the Music, they will also talk about things like popular video games, comics, and even Saturday morning cartoons.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, as long as it's the older ones, then I would enjoy it. The podcast has undergone, it's gone through a whole bunch of different names, beginning with Digital Cowboys, Digital Gonzo, and Digital Drift before settling on its current name, School of Movies. Yeah. It also regularly has different guests on to encourage a more thorough roundtable discussion and analysis. But also because those guests often have a special love or familiarity with the movie that is discussed, or video game, or
comic,
Saturday morning cartoon. The podcast in general does tend to be bookended by one or more monologues from Alex that includes either personal introspection on what the movie means to him, both good and bad, or a commentary on the life and times that the movie centers around at the time of its release.
That's cool.
Yeah.
It goes back in like history. Oh,
Yeah,
that's nice.
I like that.
Yeah.
The podcast will also include music and audio taken from the movie or show to highlight specific scenes that is being talked about. It tries to be as informative as possible as it is entertaining, hence the current title, including the word school in it. Alex and Sharon are also responsible for a series of novels under the title The New Century Multiverse, which has also been expanded to be audio dramas voiced by the podcast hosts, close friends, and voice actors, as well as previous guests on the show. They initially created the novels due to people asking Alex more about what he would have wanted to see in the movies and stories.
Fan fiction.
Yeah.
Nice.
In audio, which I really think is cool.
Yeah.
With a rating of 3.4 stars out of 5 and over 300 episodes published, School of Movies is available on Podbean and Apple Podcasts.
Podbean.
Yeah, you don't really... it's a very popular... that's a very popular service.
Is it?
Yeah.
I never really hear much about it, honestly.
I
guess because I use Spotify.
Doing the recording and stuff. Not so much... Yeah, not so much with... where you would go to find the podcasts and things. But if you have like a website...
Right.
They have a really good integration with WordPress where they have plugins and stuff. So you can actually do the recording and then hosting it on your website through, you host kind of like with we do with Anchor, where we upload the podcast onto their servers and stuff. You do that with Podbean.
Okay.
But they have like really good integration with WordPress, so you can then show it on your website and everything.
That's cool.
Yeah, really cool.
Wow. Well, I guess that's it for our reviews for this month. And I guess we can go on to library news and programs of note. So, as we mentioned earlier on in the episode, the West Hampton Free Library's Movies on the Great Lawn will be returning this summer, and I'm going to read off the schedule of movies that we have. And as I believe Dave mentioned earlier, I believe your name is Dave, right?
I think so.
And as Dave mentioned earlier, these movies usually start at sunset, and beginning on Monday, July 11th at 8:23 p.m. around about, we will be showing Cool Runnings. July 18th at 8:19 p.m., we'll be showing the 1973 animated version of Robin Hood. July 25th at 8:13 p.m. is Bringing Up Baby. August 1st at 8:06 p.m. is Coco. August 8th at 7:58 p.m. is Matilda. Love the movie. Love it, love it, love it. August 15th at 7:49 p.m. is Field of Dreams. If they build it,
they will come.
If you build it, they will come. Damn it, I messed it up. August 22nd at 7:39 p.m. is The Meg.
A NOLA favorite.
Yeah. And August 29th, our final movie at 7:28 p.m. will be Spider-Man Far From Home.
Yeah.
So, and also like we already mentioned, once again, free popcorn will be given at each show. So just bring your lawn chairs and your blankets and some bug spray and get ready to watch. Maybe some water,
Oh, yes.
Stay hydrated.
Yep. Meet us on the Great Lawn.
Meet us on the Great Lawn, yeah.
Be sure to check out the library's annual spa days, which begin on Friday, July 15th at 8:30, and it runs from 8:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. We start with yoga on the beach, followed by breakfast, then mini massages, a spa-related craft in class, then we have lunch, and we'll end with a meditation session. Registration is required and space is limited, so sign up soon.
Yeah, sign up soon because that is a very popular little program. And we will also be having another one in August. So if you can't get the July 15th one, look out for the August date.
Yes.
So if you like outdoor low-impact exercises, then you should sign up to do our summer walking club, which starts on Saturday, July 9th at 9 a.m. and ends on August 29th. This will be every Saturday morning, starting... Hold on. Where does this even start? Where does this start? Where do you...
It wasn't in the newsletter, so I didn't put it in.
Damn. Okay.
Nola!
Every Saturday morning, we will walk the walk. Our goal is 100,000 steps this summer, or approximately the number of steps it would take to walk from our library to Montauk Library. When you join, you will receive a goodie bag plus a step counter that is checked out to you for the summer. A raffle will be held each week for those who participate. If you complete the walk, you are eligible for a grand prize. And so walk this way and join us.
Walk this way.
Talk this way. Yeah, it's your turn.
If you enjoy playing games, then check out our various community clubs. One that is very popular is Duplicate Bridge, which are held on Mondays from 12:30 to 3:30. Seating begins promptly at 12:30, and you must pre-register. No walk-ins will be seated. So to register and for more information, contact the library and ask for the reference desk. We also have a games club, which is held on Wednesdays from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. and also on Fridays, except for July 8th and August 5th from 1 to 4 p.m. throughout the summer. Be sure to join our games club if you're interested in playing canasta, mahjong, bridge, or whatever small group game you're interested in. The club leaders for that is Shelly and Wanda. So if you would like to call them with information, or if you'd like to reach out to them for information, once again, call the library and ask for the reference desk, and they will help you reach them.
Just so you know, I hit my headphones into the microphone twice while you were talking, yeah. So you might hear a bump.
Okay, I didn't hear when I was talking, so hopefully that's good.
I just realized it was my turn to talk. Mm-hmm. Okay. Our July Zoom author event will feature Rachel Cullen on Wednesday, July 13th at 5:30 p.m. In Rachel Cullen's sixth novel, Summer on Dune Road, three women's perfect summer getaway devolves into a series of terrible roommates, worse blind dates, and even a blackmailing ex-boyfriend, until they join forces. Cullen, who divides her time between West Hampton and Westchester, has written a memorable, perceptive tale of summer in the Hamptons. Join us.
Be sure to check out our next month's podcast, which is scheduled to be released on Thursday, August 4th, where we will be sharing our most perfect podcasts out there because cats rule.
Meow. You're listening to the Wizards of Pod podcast, a podcast of professional librarians talking about podcasts. For more podcast news and updates, follow us on Twitter at PodWizards. You can find a link to all the podcasts we've discussed in the show notes. Music for this podcast was brought to you by Bensound Royalty-Free Music. You can check out their great collection of music at www.bensound.com.
See you next month.
Bye.
Bye. We made it! I forgot to press record. No.
Imagine though.
That would